Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we are going to study the notes of Class 8 English lesson All the World Her Stage question answers and summary. First, answer the following questions and share your responses with your partner. Question number 1. Who was usually a playing companion for Sai in her childhood? Answer. Usually, a playing companion for Sai in her childhood was her grandfather, Sir R.P. Paranjpi. Next question. Who was affectionately called Appa? Answer. Sir R.P. Paranjpi was affectionately called Appa. He was Sai's grandfather. Next question. When was the grandfather very much impressed by Sai's ability? Answer. One day, her grandfather asked her to tell him a story. Sai told him a story which was replete with dragons, princes, talking parrots, and hidden gold. When her grandfather came to know that Sai had made up the story herself, he was greatly impressed with her creative ability. Next question. What was Sai's first published book? Answer. Sai's first published book was Mulancha Mera, a book of fairy tales, which means my dream child or my favorite child. Next question. Sai froze. When did this happen? Answer. One day Sai stepped on a book by mistake as she entered the library. Her grandfather ordered her to stop right there. Sai got scared. She stood there without moving. Answer the following questions and share your responses with your partner. Question number 1. How would Sai draw the attention of her playmates while they made fun of her? Answer. Sai was a fat girl. Her friends made fun of her, saying that she could not run. She was not active and would make their team weak, but she drew the attention of her playmates by telling them interesting stories and making them enact the roles as she directed. Next question. What fascinated Sai as a child? Answer. Sai was greatly fascinated by Doll's Wedding, a traditional game played by Maharashtrian girls. Next question. Why is the word mother given within the inverted commas in the 16th and 17th paragraph? Answer. Mother here refers to a little girl, Sai. She was role-playing the character of a bride's mother in a marriage of dolls celebrated like a real wedding. Next some statements are given below. Some are true and some are false. The tick of T or F also indicate in the box the paragraph number in which you can find your answer. Sai looked very athletic. False. Sai used to tell fantastic stories to her friends. True. Even as a child, Sai had published a book. True. Her grandfather did not take it seriously when she stepped on a book. False. Paranjpai was a senior wrangler. True. One of the Maharashtrian children's game is Marriage of Dolls. True. Sai told a story of her grandfather. True. Sai learned to regard books with respect. True. Next some important events in the story are given in a jumbled order. Put them in the order in which they are in the text. Sai's drawing the attention of the playmates. Answer. The usual sight of the grandpa and Sai playing together. A grandfather telling her to treat books with respect. Answer. Sai is telling a story to her grandfather. The usual sight of grandpa and Sai playing together. Answer. A grandfather telling her to treat books with respect. The wedding of dolls. Answer. Sai is drawing the attention. Sai is telling a story to her grandfather. Answer. The wedding of dolls. Read and discuss your responses with your partner, then write. Question number 1. Describe how grandfather and Sai enjoyed each other's company. Answer. The grandfather and Sai enjoyed each other's company as playmates and friends. Both of them skipping, walking, talking, joking, etc. While they were walking, grandfather asked some simple mathematical questions and also related fables to her. but Sai naturally preferred the fairy tales. Next question. Why was grandfather very much impressed by Sai's story? Answer. Once while walking, Sai told a fairy tale full of fun with dragons, princess, talking parrots and hidden gold. The complete story was her imagination. Such a little girl, she made the story by herself. So grandfather was impressed by Sai's story. Next question. What do you think was the great achievement of Sai as a child? Answer. When Sai was 8 years old, she had published her first book of fairy tales called Mulancha Mera. This was the greatest achievement of Sai as a child. Next question. Describe the incident in the library. Answer. All the members of the Paranjpi family had great respect for books. One day, Sai stepped on a book by mistake as she rushed into the library. Her grandfather became very angry. He ordered her to stop right there. He said that she had done a great mistake. She had kicked knowledge. He told her to ask forgiveness of the book. Sai bent meekly and asked forgiveness of the book with folded hands. She received the same kind of punishment when he discovered any dog-eared book. Sai learned to treat books with great respect. Next question. How was Sai able to win over her friends? Answer. Sai was little plump. She was not very active physically, so her playmates used to make fun of her. They did not allow her to play with them. Sai used to sit by the sidelines and watch them play. A brilliant idea came to her one day. She called out to them and said she would tell them a story and involve them in a lovely game. All her friends gathered around her. Sai cast a spell of magic. They listened to the fantastic story. They also took roles and acted as she directed. In this way, she was able to win over her friends. Next question. What surprise awaited Sai one day as she came back from school? Answer. One day, Sai complained to her mother saying that she never let her have any fun. Her mother said that she would give Sai a surprise she will never forget. When Sai came back from home on that day, the whole house looked like a marriage hall. Sai was dressed like a bride's mother. The bridegroom came on a real horse. The bride was brought to the hall in the midst of the religion chantings. Sai played the role of the bride's mother and wedding of dolls was celebrated. Next main, write a paragraph on each of the following topics. Do it in pairs. Prepare first and final drafts. Then compare them with those of your partner. Question number 1. Sai's talents even as a child. Answer. Even as a child, Sai was a very talented girl. After listening to the stories of her grandfather, she had developed a liking for fairy tales. One day she asked her grandfather to tell her a story, but he refused. Instead, he asked her to tell him a story. She made up a fairy tale and told her grandfather. Thus, she developed her creative talents. When she was only 8 years old, she published her first book of fairy tales called Mulanchana Mera, my favorite child. She used to tell fantastic stories to her friends and they were mesmerized by her fairy tales. She even directed them in the dramatization of her stories. Question number 2. Lessons she learned from her grandfather. Answer. Sai learned many things from her grandfather. He was a famous educationist and mathematician. He used to tell her stories and make her solve simple mathematical problems. He encouraged her creativity. By the time she was 8 years old, she could publish her first book of fairy tales. Sai's love for books also grew with her. She learned from her grandfather to love and respect books. Next question. The incident of the wedding of dolls. Answer. Sai was greatly fascinated by the marriage of dolls. It is a traditional game played by Maharashtrian girls. Once she complained to her mother that she was not having any kind of fun. Her mother gave a surprise to her on that day. When she returned from school, her house looked like a marriage hall. Her mother dressed Sai as the mother of a bride. The bridegroom arrived on a real horse. The doll of a bride was brought with a religious chanting of mantras. Jaggery and poha were distributed among the children. The marriage of dolls was celebrated with all pomp and glory. Next main. Fill in the blanks with the most appropriate words chosen from among the ones given in brackets. Sai was fond of telling stories. Her grandfather was impressed by this talent of hers. Though she was not good at sports, she used to entertain friends with her flights of fancy. Even as a child, she had published a book of fairy tales. Next means some terms that describe people are given below. Classify them under desirable and not so desirable categories. You may consult a good dictionary to help you doing this. So here are the words. In desirable, imaginative, spirited, social, jovial, innovative, creative. In not so desirable, complaining, jealous, short-tempered, lethargic, double-tongued, lax, glum. Next main, give the negative forms of these words using the prefix. Change the article if necessary. An old man appeared on the stage walking slowly at the end of the play, just before the close of the show. Soon the audience stood up. As the lights were switched on, in that bright light they could see the director, a tad man with an imposing figure. A familiar sight, an unfamiliar sight, an used towel, an unused towel. A prepared speech, an unprepared speech. An attentive soldier, an inattentive soldier. A successful attempt, an unsuccessful attempt. An organized show, a disorganized show. A satisfied person, a dissatisfied person. Reading for information. Task 1. Read the following piece of news and answer the questions. Jahangir Khan, the legendary squash player from Pakistan, is considered to be greatest player in the history of squash. He won the World Open 6 times and the British Open a record 10 times. Between 1981 and 1986, he won 555 matches consecutively. This was not only the longest winning streak in squash history, but also one of the longest unbeaten runs by any athlete in any top-level professional sport. Who is Jahangir Khan? Jahangir Khan is the legendary squash player. Which country does he belong to? He belongs to Pakistan. Which game is he known for? He is considered to be the greatest player in the history of squash. How many times did he win the World Open? He won the World Open 10 times. Which Open did he win 10 times? The British Open 10 times. What was Jahangir's achievement between 1981 to 1986? Jahangir won 555 matches consecutively between 1981 to 1986. Here is the grammar. Compare the given sets of nouns in pair. Use the adjectives given in the box. You have got to add appropriate articles. So here is the box. Aluminium is cheaper than gold. Gold is not as cheap as aluminium. Masala puri is more spicy than white rice. White rice is not as spicy as masala puri. Elephant is bigger than mouse. Mouse is not as big as an elephant. Ice is cooler than water. Water is not as cool as an ice. Mount Everest is taller than Chamundi Hills. Chamundi Hills is not as tall as Mount Everest. Next main, complete the following sentences using the given adjectives on their comparative or superlative. Great. Who according to you is the greatest living poet of India? Useful. Iron is the most useful of all metals. Useful. Iron is more useful than any other metal. Dry. Rajasthan is the driest part of India. Good. Health is always better than wealth. Good. Honesty is the best policy. Sharp. Your knife is not so sharp as mine. Tall. Ramesh is as tall as his father. Old. My sister is 3 years older than me. Heavy. May I help you? Your bag is heavy. Writing part. Describe the peacock in 10 sentences using the words given below. So here are the words. The peacock is our national bird. It is very beautiful. Its body is covered by long green feathers. It has blue eyes. It eats germs, worms, and tender shoots of plants. It lives close to villages. It dances before rain. The male peacock dances. Its dance is more attractive. Its blue body is nice to see. Next main, given below is a picture and some sentences describing it. Correct the description and rewrite the sentences so that they match the pictures. So here are the pictures. At the market, I saw an old woman sitting in a chair. She was selling eggs. She was wearing shirt and trousers. It was raining. At the roadside, I saw women sitting on the footpath. She was selling pots. She was wearing a sari. It was sunny day. So this is all about your lesson, All the World Her Stage. If you want the more notes, more lessons, more questions or more classes, you can check the playlist of my channel.